Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond, and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Back at you and Gloves Off, and I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with a great guest and a legend in New York City and the East Coast in kickboxing, karate, tournaments, fighting, the whole world for the longest time. And his name is Jerry Fast Feet Fontanez. And we're going to touch base on how he got started, why he continues, and he still motivates people, not only there in New York, all over the place with about the martial arts. How we doing? We're doing good, Jerry?
I'm doing super good and getting better, as I like to say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's touch base and just a little bit of background of you for the folks out there to that are coming in to see how and who you are. Because number one, you're an icon in your area.
Well, I appreciate that. All I really am is a martial arts fan who had an opportunity to actually participate in something that, as my mother says, I was born to do. Because she says that there was a concern of her because I used to kick and punch the radiator as a child. And she said, "What's wrong with this kid?" And what it was that I was mimicking what I really enjoyed. And what I enjoyed was Mrs. Peel on Agent on the Avengers and Agent 99 on Maxwell Smart, Get Smart, and even Captain Kirk on Star Wars, where they were kicking and punching and doing this judo chop thing. And I remember, I have a very good memory. So going back to, those times, even 007 movie, they would flip people. When they would do a judo flip, I loved it. So, I didn't get a chance to participate in martial arts in the formal school until 1976, but I was already doing the full split. And that's the photo that I sent where I did my so-called first photo shoot at age 10, and I'm putting my leg up high. My little brother's mimicking some, doing some blocks, and I'm doing a chop. But according to my partners and that we still have a great relationship with, the sons of Sang Soo Tiger Kim, Supreme Grandmaster Tiger Kim, my instructor in Motorcon Tansodo. Back then they call it Korean karate, which is just a variety of things. They were doing the Pinan forms, which is like Shotokan forms when I first joined the school, and then they changed it. But so from the beginning, man, I just love martial arts, the Kung Fu series, anything on television that had more. See, I was born as a very sick child. I had 5 pneumonias by the age of 2, and my first 2 birthdays were in the children's ward, of the hospital, because I was, chronic asthmatic, born with a spot in my lungs too that created a problem. And knowing that, because my mother would always, my aunts and family and friends were always telling my mother's nickname is Tuti. Tuti, don't let him do, those sports and watch out for this. And my mom, being a real Puerto Rican mother, she's like, "No, if my son wants to do it, he's going to do it. I said, "Oh, macho," So I made sure that I didn't embarrass mom by being some punk or chump. And if I was going to do something, I had to do it with 100% energy. But yeah, man, I was born to do this thing according to mom, and I think it's the truth. That and dancing, between that and dancing is in the DNA, man.
And it's funny to see because there's sometimes in the families it's the brother, the mother, the father to push you, and it's always somebody in the family that's igniting that little fire for you to keep on moving forward, and it's great to see that. And well, tell me from the Mudo days, how did you get involved with the tournament fighting and then the kickboxing and all that?
Well, so what happened with me was I went to my first tournament just a few weeks after I joined the school. And the way I interpreted it was, "Hey, Mom, they want me to compete. They think I'm good, So it was my instructor's tournament of May of 1976. And I would like to add that my father paid for the martial arts lessons from his VA check. At the time, he was incarcerated, and I met him just a few months before that. And when they asked him what he was into, He said martial arts. My mother also mentioned too, before I met my dad, that he was into karate. So I guess that was a little influence, and boxing. But she didn't want me to be a boxer because she didn't want my face and my brain to be all messed up. So we decided karate was going to be okay. But yes, I went to my first tournament just a few weeks after. And I remember scoring a point and then losing. The match was 2-1 because back in the day, it was just 2 points. But that was it, man. I bit my bug. I came back at nighttime to the finals alone. My mother didn't come with me. The travel was about maybe 30 minutes on public transportation. But I was going to go see who I was going to fight with in the future, you know. That was it. This was my chance to become Bruce Lee, and that was it. That was going to be it. So a few months after, November, I went to my second tournament. At this point, I was a green belt. What happened is that I trained Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. But I trained more at home on the days off. And that was it. And then when I played in the schoolyard, I was kicking and punching. And when people would shoot at me playing cops and robbers, because I saw the movie Five Fingers of Death, like in 1971, every time they shot at me, I used to block with the iron fist. And I said, man, you crazy. They say, I shot you. No, man, I blocked you with the iron fist, you know. So they started calling me Karate Fever Boy. So as a Karate Fever Boy, I go to my first tournament. I score a point, and then I go to the next tournament, and I took first place in the next tournament. I was 10 years old. I was in the Westchester County Arena. It was inside of a ring. So to me, everybody was coming to see me fight. That's the way I thought about it. And then by the time I'm 16 years old, I already start fighting black belt men, which is crazy when I think about it. But I had to do it because I use martial arts as my vocation, and my vocation to earn money because I was a father at age 17. So what I would do, again, the Bronx in the 1980s and 70s, talking about gangs, and then you talk about drugs and bank robbers and all types of stuff. So my friends were the bank robbers. I couldn't be a bank robber because I was going to be a father. So I went to karate tournaments, and they started giving away money, of course, but to the adults. So I'm like, man, I need some of that money. So I remember I couldn't wait to be 18 years old. And at 17, I'm beating everybody. No one's even scoring on me. And the guy says to me, older guy says, actually, I shouldn't say that. Two things happened. Billy Blanks told me September of 1982, you can win first place today in the men division at a national tournament, J Park Nationals. So I snuck in. I competed there because since it wasn't local, they wouldn't know my age. I could put that I was 18. But even though I already had won the bottom line, I took third place at a national tournament, and then a few weeks after, I got threatened by some guys. Where did you get to the big boys? Yeah, I'm a big boy today, and I fought in that tournament too, and I took third place also against Speedy Wilson, one of the top fighters. So at age 17, I fought a full season, and I won my first grand champion, and that was it, man. There was no turning back after I won that. My challenge when it came to earning income in martial arts was this. This was my disillusion. I thought that we can go from point karate to full contact, as they called it, and if I got on television, I was going to be rich. And rich meant forever, not a payday, just rich forever. And I was disheartened because there was a guy in there by the name of Tony Arnold, and he was the PK welterweight champion. I saw him fight on NBC. I figured, hey, this guy's rich forever. So he came down to train with us in Chinatown where we rented a studio, and he said to me afterwards, because remember back then, there was no such thing as really, like dojo training had rules and no rules, So you might have started out as point, but there was no one calling points, so you ended up doing full contact or continuous contact, plus he sweep them. It was just a variety of things. And even sometimes you had to watch for your joints. So it depends on who you was training with, And I went from school to school to school. Anybody who said to me, hey, come over and work out with us, I had to go. If they invited me, I had to go. Because if I wouldn't go, in New York at least, it was more like, yeah, we invited him. We don't want to come down here. That type of stuff. Then when I would go, I would show up alone. Because to me, it was like being in Candyland. I wanted all the candy for me. I didn't want to share. So meaning I knew that they were going to make me spar against as many people as possible. And that was my opportunity to have sparring partners. I used to freaking just rip right through these guys. But I found out that most of the kickboxers, the full contact fighters at the time, weren't making that much money. And I couldn't believe it because Tony Unknown, I saw him on television, and he says to me, here's my phone number to my house, and here's my phone number to my job. And when he said job, I was like, job? What are you talking about? I didn't say nothing to him because I didn't want to embarrass him or embarrass myself. So I wanted to ask somebody who might have knew who was a kickboxer, full contact fighter. I said, hey, how much money you guys are making? He said, well, it depends. 100 a round. Sometimes you get some ticket things. And I was like, it depends. I'm thinking, wait a second. Then you got to share that with somebody else? I can make more money next week over here, and I can win. And then over there, I can win. So again, I was mapping out how I can earn income. So in terms of full contact, I didn't do a lot of full contact in actual matches only because of that. But when they had tournaments and had continuous contact, which is full contact, except you're not supposed to knock the person out, that I won the United States Championship, and I went undefeated. And even now, I'm fighting, and I'm going to have one of the rounds of continuous contact.
And you're going to be, you have a bout coming up, don't you?
Yeah, November 20th, I'm fighting on a card called the Virtual Fight Tour 11. And it's interesting because they wanted me to fight in the Legends match. However, the Legends don't want to fight. A lot of Legends are like, no, man, I haven't done that in years. So for some reason, I can still do my stuff because, you know, I don't believe that the best years should have been your 20s. I don't believe that. I believe that martial arts is supposed to be timeless. I think the older you get, the better you're supposed to get. And plus, I have a competitive nature that says, hey, man, I want to be better than me. You know, I want to better my best. In the year 2000, Karate Kung Fu Illustrated actually had the top 10 fighters of all time in point tournaments. And I was ranked number 4, which I was shocked to even be there. I didn't know about this until 2015 because I had, you know, I became Mr. Mom, relocated to the suburbs, started my clothing line, and do some different stuff. And plus, the sport had changed quite a bit, and I didn't like it. So I was ranked number 4, and the 3 people that were ranked above me, which included Ray McCallum, Keith Vitale, Keith Vitale, and Alvin Prouder. What I realized is that the 3 of these guys had a common denominator. They were retired. You know, and I said, maybe I can get them to come out and compete again. I want to beat them. That was my idea, you know. But in the meantime, I got to get myself in shape. So when they ever do this again, I want to make sure I'm number 1. Again, me competing against me. But I was honored and shocked that I even know about the 15 years. So I got on the mission to get myself back in physical shape. And I started competing in tournaments. Even though I wasn't in the best of shapes, I was still beating everybody in terms of my age bracket. And got a few injuries in the process. Thank God I know how to fight because I wasn't in the best shape. But for a good 30 seconds, I was good. You know, I could beat a person really fast and scoring the points on them. And then I got heavy up. But yeah, today I'm happy to say I'm probably 208 pounds right now, which is within anywhere between 195 and 215. That's my best range of shape. You know, sometimes a little muscular, sometimes less muscular. But after 5 other fighters that did not, this is the 5th guy that actually took the fight. People were taking the match, and then they would change their mind. You know, people were convinced because what I made a mistake was I put videos of me throwing kicks and techniques, and they're like, "Wait a minute, that's today." You know, like they didn't want to go against their reputation, you know, put their reputation on the line. But Dr. Brian Bam Bam Crumb, legend from the Maryland area, stepped up to the plate, and I'm so excited that's going to happen. And because of him, a lot of other people started to train. Because I know there's people out there that never had a chance to compete against me. I'm like, hey, man, now you get your chance, you know? Like, I still want to go compete against a few other people out there who can. And people are sending me a lot of messages. Man, you got me all pumped up. I'm working out again. You know, but the most important part about the working out, guys, honestly, is being able to do age-specific training. You know, there's certain things that we just should not do in the same manner any longer. Our experiences inside of us, so we can tap into some of our what would be health or you know, fitness. That combination of those two, you know, it'll make a world of a difference.
Absolutely, and you know, and you said a bunch of stuff in there. You know, mentioned a great name, Ray McCallum. Ray McCallum's like a brother to me. And Ray McCollum is one of the legends, not only in Texas, just like you all, were around and inspired so many different martial artists in so many different levels. You know, Ray McCollum, I think the last time I saw him was about 4 years ago in Dallas. And, you know, he's one of the fighters. He's one of the warriors from Texas. And he's still there. And maybe we can get him and you later on in a podcast, because both of you guys, like I said, and I keep saying this, inspired many and continue to do so. And that's what martial arts is. Sometimes martial arts, some folks might be training in a little town in the middle of Nebraska, but they see videos of you all, and that's how they want to be. And they continue seeing those videos, because now it's a lot different now than it was when one was growing up. One had to see the individuals to understand how they work. You know, video cameras, you might get lucky. Some parent might have a video camera. Some parent might not have a video camera. It's not like it is now, that everybody has a camera and a video camera on their cell phone. And every kid from 11 years old on up has a cell phone, you know. So you're going to have video somewhere along the line that of how you acted, who you are, and so on. So, you know what I'm saying? So in comparison to back then, there was no actual videos unless it came out in ESPN, you know, and or somebody filmed it, and 10 years later you see it. Oh, wow, look, that's where I was at, you know. I saw that one in person. But you actually had to experience the people that were there fighting. And back then, when I was a teen, like you said, Buitron, you said a word, Buitron. We trained in Buitron. I remember my father stuck me into school. He said, "You're not going to be here. We're working till this late, and you're going to be here with you're going to be training because I don't want you in the street." And that's basically what it was. You know, even though we trained in the Cipote with my uncle, you were stuck in that school because you did not want to be out there running around. So, and I love those experiences that we had. But the tournaments that it took us and everything else that went through is something that people still are in your mind, you know. And McCollum was one of them. And you, like you. And a lot of people do not know it. So if you guys want to go look for him on YouTube, I think there's a lot of video of both of you guys on YouTube. But you guys should do that. And you're right, you know, PKA type kickboxing in the United States, even though it was developed in the United States, and in Europe they call it boxe américaine. You know, they don't call it PKA, they call it, and still now they have world champions of boxe américaine over there. And boxe américaine has started here, but there's not that much going on here. There's about every 3 years you'll hear, oh, there was a bout here, there's a bout over here, you know. So it's not that popular that it's going on, okay? But in Europe, I remember when I was in Europe and I was training and I was in so on and so forth, everybody always trained, you know, would always talk about boxe américaine. And in the 90s, you had Rufus doing it, you know, and he inspired many people to go forward with it. He inspired a lot of folks in there. In fact, I saw him fight in Paris at one time, you know, when he was over there. But the amount of kickboxing that folks believe in Europe that goes on in the United States, it's not happening. While over there, they have it every weekend, starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday. Here, you might have it once every 6 months. And
that's a sad thing, because the truth of the matter is that, to me, okay, so point karate to me is what every match really is. Right? Every form of fighting is point karate, in the sense that I want to hit you without being hit, being controlling the distance, being out of the line of fire, and so on and so forth. However, kickboxing is what's the word kickboxing is actually what's used even in point karate worldwide, because karate is what they consider traditional karate. So when the IOC, you know, when they petitioned for karate, it was the Wuko, and they considered traditional karate. So Mike Anderson was the one that petitioned it as kickboxing, because it was a kick in a box. So WACO, being the biggest organization for kickboxing, is the one that, so what we do is called light contact kickboxing or semi-contact kickboxing. That's point and continuous. Then they got international rules, which is leg kicks, but no elbows, and then they got more tight and so on and so forth. So, but it's interesting because above the waist, American-style kickboxing, like the gentleman's sport of boxing, so to speak, now you're kicking person, not below the belt. That became very popular. Mike Anderson being the first one, 1974, being the promoter, I should say. Well, that's when, rest in peace, Joe Louis and Joe Louis was the heavyweight. Jeff Smith was the light heavyweight, and the middleweight was Bill Superfour Wallace, and Iseles Dueñas was the lightweight from Mexico. They thought it would have been Howard the Flash Jackson, but he lost to the Dominican Ramon Smith, and that was the first PK. But if you looked at that, it was more like continuous contact. They were throwing back fist still. They were still allowing sweeps and things like that. So it was still developing until it became kickboxing, which I've mentioned to you before. I believe that the real kickboxing would be what Savate was doing,
absolutely,
100 years before. They had boots and gloves on, and they even had. It seemed like the shoes were padded to me for some reason, because
no, they are. It's a special. I don't have one with me here because they're at the school, but it's a padded shoe. It looks like a wrestling shoe because it covers your ankle.
Give me a second. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you a version of what that is. That was created by one of the best kickboxers of all time. Rest in peace, Mr. Steve Shepard. So Steve Shepard made these. These are called ring stars. And these ring stars are actually a padding. The heel is soft, and then there's padding here at the top also. So I think this was his version of a Savate shoe somehow. Maybe not exactly, but seeing these and wearing, I actually wear these to compete. They're loud, they're soft. And then back with some boxing gloves. Was like, it seemed like that's what Savate looked like to me, No,
Savate is. I don't have, and me being a Savate too, I don't have one. I don't have one here. But the Savate shoes actually goes up to like a wrestling boot.
Yeah. Ankle high.
Okay, it goes to ankle high, so it protects your ankles, so you can tighten them up, and it's padded all the way around. But the sole is flat. There's no traction whatsoever because you're on canvas, so you have to be able to move on canvas. Shoes like that, and I've had some folks come in at them, and if you're on a canvas, they'll grab that canvas, and you can't kick that much. So when you're kicked, a lot of people don't understand. They say, Savate kicks to the legs. Okay. Do you block to the legs? Yeah, but most likely you're esquivas. Boop, you move out of the way. It's kind of just like boxing. You move forward and so on and so forth, or you can stop it with your leg, right? Because Savate, you can kick both the interior and the exterior of the leg. So you can kick all the way around except the groin. You can't kick the groin. It's gentleman's rules. And Savate's rules predate the Queensberry rules by about 50 years. So it is the first form of kickboxing if you look at it, because you're using both your hands and your feet. And there was a style of Savate that was known as boxe française, which boxe française is French boxing. Then you had English boxing, but now we have, for us, American boxing is, but for the rest of the world, American boxing is a PKA karate type term. And the problem with Savate, it's popular in France, in Belgium, but around the world it's kind of dissipated. Here it never really took off. There are some schools around, and it's trying to make a stand. It's always something hindering it, but it's like boxing. Not that many people are going to go into boxing. A lot of people are going to go into boxing to work out and to say that they're doing boxing, but how many people are actually going to go into boxing to box in the ring?
Yeah, that's a big difference between what I consider spectate and participate. So spectate, you can get in shape. You can get in shape and spectate, or get in shape and participate. And in everything that I've done, I wanted to be a player, because the players are the ones that get paid. If you're in the, you're not getting paid high. If you're a millionaire in whatever it is, that means you must have really satisfied a lot of customers, so to speak, to earn that. And that's not always the case, but I'm just saying in general, the way I like to look at it, you know, scoring high, winning, because that's one thing about the reason why I continue to do things right now is because, hey, man, I want to win, and it's fun. Like I say, I'm 10 years old, again, because 45 years ago, April 19th, 1976, I started my martial arts journey in my official martial arts school. And I still have that same desire to get better and better and better. Actually, I'm more excited now than when I was 10 years old, because back then I didn't know what was possible. There was a good fantasy there, but today I know what's possible because, as an example, you know, I'm as eccentric as anybody else. Just before I got up this morning, I had a dream. And in my dream, I'm having a meeting, and the meeting is with my buddy Michael J. White, which I know him since he's 13 years old, and I was 15. So in the meeting, of quite a few things happen, and the things that happen in that meeting in my dream is going to happen. I know it's going to happen because it's conversations we've had in the past. My point is that as a little kid, you got to have bright-eyed, bushy-tail, enthusiasm as a kid, but at the same time, be able to do the work. I'm willing to do the work. Last night, here I was. Training, and it was about 10 o'clock last night, and then right after we finish here, I'll be training again. What I mean by training, I'm talking about sparring. Sparring in my hallway, because I'm in Shaolin Temple right now. I just woke up as a monk, and this is my Shaolin Temple bed, the same one I had, or I should say, same room I was in when I was a little kid. We've been living here since 1981, and then I get a chance to have things like this, which is mind-boggling to me. This little thing here, right? So this was given to me, and these tokens are pretty popular right now. But I know in the military they have these all over the world, like different groups. But this one was given to me by Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef and Grandmaster Al DeCascos. So it's called the Ultimate Warrior Hall of Fame. I'm like, what the heck? These guys even know my name? Like, how does that happen? How does, a Puerto Rican born in Manhattan, raised in the Bronx, get an opportunity to travel around the world and know quite a few real cool people and get recognized for different things? Like, that wasn't my plan. Like, as a little kid, I didn't fathom that at all. Not that the part that inspires me, because there's a lot of what I consider a lot of folks so-called Hall of Fame, where you pay for a buffet and they honor you, but that's another subject. But to have people of that type of substance and quality be able to even know my name, to me, I'm like, how does that happen, But I believe it's easier now at 55 to impress myself if I can do something that I used to do, which is easier than as a kid not knowing what to do at all, not knowing the true possibility, but going for it. But now I know what my body had done before, so to get to that, and it's happening. I can tell you this. I'm doing techniques I have never done in my life in terms of left side and right side. And that's crazy, but it's possible.
And it's possible, but it's also, it has to happen because you've been doing it for such a long time.
Well, that's what I believe.
That technique is in there, and you have not stopped.
True.
You see, some people stop training. They stop training, and they start teaching, and then they can't go back in. And right now, folks you can't stop training. You have to be hands-on with your guys all the time. And regardless, because we all gain weight, and we all have to be pushing in there, and we all have to be the ones that tell the younger ones that are coming up, listen, this is the way you do it. And sometimes they question that. So you have to be able to tell them and explain both verbally, but also physically, that that's the reason why you don't do it. And folks, you can tell them, you're open right here. And there's faster. And they go, no, I'm not open right there. And I go, watch, because as soon as you open, that's where I'm going to enter. And so if you can show them that, then they start growing. And that's where people need to understand that the older you get, it's like this. You had Luke Duva, okay? Luke Duva, of course, he could not go and spar against the boxers that he had in there. But he created so many world champions left and right because they respected him because of the knowledge that he had, and he could show them how to do it, and they paid attention. That's what changed the world champion. And what I'm trying to get at is if folks see an older coach, an older professor out there teaching, and they start saying, "No, he has nothing to teach me," that's when those egos rush down the line, and the world champions are the ones that step up and say, "Teach me."
Yeah. Well,
You know what I'm saying?
it's interesting because there was a time where I actually had 6 karate schools at one time, and I had 1,000 students. And during that time, I competed more than ever. And people couldn't understand, how can I compete when I had the school teaching? And it's because I came from a school that was really, really weird, but I wanted to lead by example and really show them how it should be done. So I was actually training multiple times a day while I was teaching, as I was demonstrating. And that, to me, I didn't realize I was unique. My friends were separating the two. They would teach or they would train. But since I was teaching my students stuff that worked, I had a chance to teach them the things that I really enjoyed. So I was really working out. They just happened to come. Since they came, I charged them. That's the way I was doing things way back when. It's very similar to what I do now. Somebody will come and we'll have a sparring session. Well, he paid for that sparring section because you're going to learn more from physical action. And then we review it and then record it, of course, like you said. So with the video, we get a chance to see everything and then review it. But I want to touch on a note of something that you said that was very interesting. Raymond the Kid McCallum was someone who I read about in Official Karate and Karate Illustrated. So back then, since we couldn't see the videos, we actually had to visualize. And in my mind's eye, I was like, oh my God, because I used to, especially Official Karate, they gave it like a play-by-play techniques. In the last few seconds, the fast kick and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God. So by the time I saw him in 1983 for the first time, I was like, I know who this is. That's the kid. That's Demetrius, the Greek Havana student, and he was a classmate of Troy Dorsey and Cliff Thomas and Rudy Smedley and Billy Jack Jackson, and so on and so forth. And they all came from the same camp, and of course, so I was a fan of martial arts. I'm still a fan of martial arts. I interviewed Ray not once but twice because I get a chance, an opportunity to even speak to him. The same thing I did with Super Dan Anderson. All these guys that that I'm still a martial arts fan, and I'm just trying to tell them, hey, we never saw Bill Superfoot Wallace, even with hip replacements, never stopped being Bill Superfoot Wallace. So
absolutely,
we get a chance to do those things.
And absolutely. And when you're that much involved in the martial arts, all the stories of everybody that has impacted the martial arts, you want to find out about that, because those stories, not only you're preserving history, but you can learn something about it that has a common denominator, and that's the common denominator of desire to win, desire to become better. And that desire has to be implemented into students. So how do we turn that switch on? Because not everybody gets that. You have 100 students, and you might get 1 or 2 that has a desire to move forward. But instead of that, how can I switch that key to all the 100 for them to move forward?
Yes, so this is what I did also. I came up with a martial arts success system. I started doing a lot of work with Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins, back in the early 1990s, and I went as far as Hawaii in 1992. I won Mr. Mastery at the Mastery course. So I had to learn how to become a communicator, a motivator, not a dictator, but a motivator. My instructors didn't know how to motivate, they knew how to dictate, and I was one of the sole survivors, because back then it was just a different type of mindset. It was the 80-20 rule, and 80% of the people were gone. Maybe 20% stayed, and from the 20%, only 20% of those competed. So I believe that we're the special forces for those who actually put themselves on the lines to compete. But in our student creed, the last thing we say is winners never quit, quitters never win. I choose to be a winner. So here I am. I developed a success system that's applicable in any endeavor. So if you ask them about how do you feel, they say super good and getting better, which is what I probably said earlier today. How do you feel? I said super good and getting better. If they ask somebody, well, we got a positive attitude stretch. Every day and if you can't, you must. If you must, you will. Positive stretch. If you can't, you must. If you must, you will. How do you feel? Super good and getting better. What's the progress check? I'm better than yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow. So we started using all these affirmations that came from success conditioning and combined it into martial arts. So not one student of mine have ever said to me, sir, man, that freaking spinning hook that you taught me really saved me. They'll say, my mindset of winners never quit and the success conditioning is what has transcended me to become successful in other endeavors. So I knew that was a possibility because it worked on me. And I didn't become the bank robber because of martial arts, you know. But I had to figure out how to make it where it was for the masses, because not everybody's going to get a chance to compete or even want to, but you are competing against yourself every single day. So when I say students, who do you compete against? They go, yourself, sir. Yeah, you want to get better than you. That's right. Mind your business. And what's your business? To get better than you. So I figured out a way how to do that, and I'm happy to say that when I'm teaching, I'm the biggest student. It reinforces what I need to learn, and that's to stay hungry.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That energy can never miss. You can never let go of that energy. You have to push forward in there, and you have to keep on moving forward, you know. And a lot of us want perfection. And a lot of us, when you get somebody, you know, I'm going to tell you something about the ring in comparison for those that are going to go compete. I'm going to use that. As those that are just going to school. You can go to school, and you cannot force all of them to go to a tournament, because the instant you tell all of them we're all going to a tournament, half your school is going to leave. Okay, so when you force them to say everybody has to compete, you're going to lose out. But when you get those guys that say I want to compete, I'm going to be here, you can develop special class. This is my team's class. These are the guys that are going to go. You can become part of the team, you know. So you had to separate, especially in Savant. I had to learn how to separate them. Not everybody wanted to go through all that training.
Again, I say 80-20 rule. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I listen to people who were pretty smart. And for some reason, I tell people, listen, if you got 10 students, there's 2 of them that can beat the other 10 just because of their desire. And those 2 right there, your right and left hand, you know. So knowing those numbers, 80% of the people just happy to be there or unhappy to be there. They just want to develop themselves and do something positive like your father wanted to do with you, to put you in a group of kids that were moving in the right direction instead of staying home and developing some bad habits with maybe some other people. But I was able to get pretty much 20% of my students pretty often to compete at tournaments, but I wanted 200 to compete. So how do you get 200 students to compete? So I played with the numbers and I motivated myself and I set a goal. So I got 1,000 students and I was able to get 200 competitors at some events to compete in one time and about 400 or 500 spectators. So I walked in with a martial arts tournament to do like a hostile takeover, like if I was a Tit of the Hunt, and we won just about every division, including the black belt. So a lot of times we won the light, middle, light heavy, and then I was the defending champion, whatever. We fought against each other. We never bowed out to each other like some American traditions because we showed the strength of the school. We sparred together in class, I should say, like you said, those special classes. So the classes ended about 9 o'clock in the evening over here in the Bronx. But then as soon as that happens, we close those gates because we have gates. And once those gates goes, we were going on sometimes to midnight. And those few people, 20% of the 20% were the ones that stayed. And that's all numbers to me. And I say those guys to me are the special forces. The martial is military arts, as we know, right? So those who compete at tournaments, they are what you consider the special forces. But amongst the special forces, meaning the groups of 6, there's a sniper. That sniper is the one that stayed after the gates stood down because you really want to be a sharpshooter. And so that's why the point karate, as we did years ago, I call that sniper fighting because these guys could take you out with one blow, one sweep, one punch, one kick. So again, me being eccentric and thinking, I came up with this concept back in 2013. I said, man, what separates those guys from those guys? And is they're sharp. Wait a minute, sharp. Okay, martial is military. If you compete 20%, those are special forces because not everybody has to compete. 80% of them don't. And then within the 20%, there's a 20%. Oh my God, those guys are really sharp. They are the ones that you want to go in. And who's the sharpest? The sniper. You can't get in or get out in terms of special forces without that sniper. And that sniper has to be the most patient person. Him or her has to be up in the tree or under a rock. Can't use the bathroom or maybe use it on themselves, whatever the case may be. And that's what I believe that I aspire to be, a sharp, precise, on-point sniper to increase the quality of my technique with the least amount of effort possible, just like a marksman or woman. And that's why I strongly believe that the best is yet to come, because that is still a constant. There's so many people still around that understand that if you're doing Savate and I'm doing point karate and someone's doing traditional karate, it doesn't matter. We can compete under whatever rules are that day. And that to me was always great, to have variety styles but competing under the same rules. So it doesn't matter what style you are. Just, you know, just pick and choose these tools as opposed to those tools and see and test yourself. Groin kicks, no groin kicks. Sweep, no sweeps. The back, no back. Leg kick, no leg kick. Elbows, knees, fingers, whatever. And it's also supposed to prepare you to get home safe.
Absolutely. You know, and it has to be done. It has to be done in that fashion to blend everything together, you know, because some rules you just can't do it. And that's just the way it can. But, you know, you can't mix oil and vinegar, but you can just for a little bit to make a dressing. So
I love every style of martial arts. There's not one style of martial arts that I don't love. And I think that's really the beauty of it all, because you take the same techniques and they translate to different styles and different languages and what have you. And it's because it's artistry. You know, when people say martial art, I broke down martial arts to me. Martial is military. That means strategy. That means being able to make the most out of what would be every move that you do. Then, so that's more like linear type stuff, right? Art is all over the place. Right? So art is all over the place. So martial arts is an oxymoron. Creativity, flow, fun, artistry. Martial, more linear, more strategized. So basically, you want to beat somebody and look good in the process.
if you want to put, yeah, absolutely. You know, and you said a great analogy about it being military, how you have the masses and then you have your special forces. And you're absolutely correct. And you're going to have that. In every school, you're going to have that. And not only that, in the martial arts, you're going to have that as well. There's martial arts. The fewer you get, those are your special forces martial arts. And it's going to get to the point that you got your snipers. And eventually, that's just the way it is, because that's the way the art was developed for. That's the way life is. But I want to thank you. And we're running out of time a little bit. And I want to thank you for what you do and continuing to inspire many. And thank you for that. And New York and has a great icon that's still alive, and folks that are over there, they should go train with you. And that's the way it is.
Well, and, I appreciate it. All I can say is this. Honestly, I believe the best is yet to come. I believe that today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. So every day alive, I wake up with my eyes closed and I say, Lord, if you give me another day, I promise to help as many people as possible. And I open my eyes, oh, thank you, I got another day. You know, so I'm excited to have today, especially through all this craziness that's happening. And I appreciate when people know, you know, that Jerry Fontanez name is still alive and kicking. I'm honored that anybody even knows who the heck I am, because to be honest with you, I'm just a little kid that can't wait to throw some kicks in a few minutes, you know? So I appreciate it, sir.
No, I appreciate you, and we'll see you other soon, and we'll get together soon.
November 20th, guys, if you can tune in, Fast Feet Fontanez against how you call it, the Bam, my man. Anyway, thank you.
All righty. Until next time, much peace.
Peace.